Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. I just wanted to confirm.
It looks like the live streaming is working.
Yeah.
Good.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Metaphorians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metaphorians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metaphorians unite, Metaphorians ignite, sharing love in the metazone, lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise, together we inspire.
Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Planet B podcast. which is titled Our Planetary Home on Fire. Dr. Rao, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity to do a deep dive on the chapters in the book.
Dr. Rao, I have to say, this is one of my favorite chapters of the book because the 9 planetary boundaries are so important. And I think, at least for me, someone outside of the science side of this, it was such an eye-opener to see the environmental impact of Planet A.
Right, yeah, and thank you for that. Yeah, it's all based on the Planetary Health Check report. And I think when I wrote this, there were only 6 planetary boundary transgressions. And this year, the 7th one got transgressed as well. But it's in the same order in which I wrote.
Right. So in the opening paragraph of chapter 4, you make a bold claim. You say, quote, "Our planet is truly on fire." What do you mean by this statement?
If you think of a fire, it's a transformation that's happening, right? So something is burning and the temperature is really, really high. Now, at any given point in time, there are fires going on around our planet, right? And it's been like that way, not from the beginning. It's not like we just, it's just happening today, okay, like that. But we have increased the number of fires on the planet. Humans are causing, I think, 95% of the fires on the planet through human, yeah. So if you look at all the wildfires, 95% of the wildfires are coming from human sources, not from natural sources, not from lightning. So we have increased the fires on the planet. So our planet is truly on fire. Okay? Now, have we gotten to a point of increasing the fires so much that nature is amplifying the fires herself? And that's where we are. It's that critical point where we say the fires that we started, the fires that we created, is too much. And we need to hold back, and we start bringing back the greenery. Because the rainforest does not catch fire. Even if you try to set it on fire, it won't catch fire. But you have to cut down all the trees and dry them and then burn them. And that's what we've been doing in the rainforest, in order to turn the rainforest into grazing land for our cows, or turn the rainforest into land in which you can grow soya beans. We have to cut down the trees, wait for them to dry out, and then burn them. Or pour some, gasoline on them and burn them after you cut them down.
Right. So you've been working in the climate arena since 2006. So in 2026, that'll be 20 years. Right. So over the 20 years that you've been working,
there's a larger issue that we need to address. Okay, and that larger issue is basically Planet A's unsustainable human engineered systems that are in conflict with the life support systems. So it's a systems issue. That's what I've been studying. And right from the outset, I was looking at climate as the fever that the Earth has. Whereas there is a cancer, there's a heart disease, there's a diabetes, there's all these other issues that we need to address. And it's really about a lifestyle transformation that needs to happen for us to be in alignment with the life support systems of the planet. So 20 years, I've been watching it get worse and worse and worse. And I can see the exponential growth in the disease that the Earth has. But I know that all of this can be reversed if we just live differently than the way we are living today.
Right. And then it seems like scientists kind of put a framework around planetary issues in 2009 with the 9 planetary boundaries. So do you mind sharing the origin of the 9 planetary boundaries and how they came about?
Yeah, the 9 planetary boundaries were introduced at the Stockholm Resilience Center and the Potsdam Institute of Climate Research. And Stockholm Resilience Center is in Sweden, and the Potsdam Institute for Climate Research is in Germany. And they wrote this paper, it's a very important paper, in 2009, proposing these 9 planetary boundaries as a way to look at the life support systems of the Earth. So these planetary boundaries, if you are in the green zone, in the planetary boundaries, the Earth is healthy. If you are in the orange zone or yellow zone, then it has gone outside the safe zone, but it's not yet alarming. If it's orange, it's becoming alarming. If it's in the red zone, it means that it can potentially kill life as we know it on the planet. Okay, and then they had the purple zone, which means that it's at a high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of the planet. So they color coded it. Now these are all estimates based on science, based on watching the systems get worse and worse and worse over time. And you say, okay, maybe we are in the purple zone on this. Maybe we are in the red zone on something. So they color coded everything. And this is the best we have of system science to analyze the life support systems of the planet. So think of the systems engineers and these system scientists who are analyzing the life support systems of the planet as the planetary health doctors.
I like that. Yeah.
So they are planetary doctors who are saying the planet has diseases. And these are the 7 diseases the planet has. Okay, so they have come up with 7 planetary boundary transgressions.
Sure. So if you don't mind, let's go through title
Yeah.
and the definition of each of the 9.
Right.
So start
Okay.
wherever that you'd like.
Now I start in the same order that's there in the chapter. It's basically in the order of importance of what we have done today. Okay, so the most important, the one that we have impacted the most, is biosphere integrity. So it is the integrity of the biodiversity on the planet, on all the wildlife on the planet, and it's dying out. And as we discussed in the last chapter, 90% of wild animals are gone. Extinction rates of species is estimated to be 1,000 to 10,000 times the background rate.
So can you explain what that means, please?
It means that in nature, if we were not doing our thing, if we were just observers and not doing anything to the planet, you would observe species dying out and new species being born at the rate of something like 0.1 to 1 per year, per million species. So that's the rate. Okay.
Right.
So anywhere from 0.1 to 1. That's how much new species will be born every year for every 100 million species on the planet. And that's how much species will die out. Now we are killing something like 100 to 1,000 species a day.
Wow. A day. So that's every single day.
Every single day. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we are killing them at a rate that's 1,000 to 10,000 times the background rate.
So all of that is fueled by humanity's Planet A systems.
Correct. How are we doing that? Well, we wipe out an entire millions of acres of forest. So think of how fast we are destroying forests. Now there are unique species that die out when we wipe out a forest. And that's why the estimate is 100 species per day that we're wiping out, right?
And I know that you've mentioned, Dr. Rao, that those are just, I'm sorry if I misterm it, but those are the species that we can see, but there are many more potentially that the microorganisms or the smaller species that aren't even counted in that.
Correct. These are the species that we know of, meaning we know that there are so many microorganism species, and so on. So these are estimates that people have made, scientists have made, on how many species there are in a given area of a forest. There may be other species that we don't know about. Again, science keeps progressing, right? We understand more and more. So before we even understand something, before we even understand how a system is put together, we're destroying it. To me, a sign of intelligence is the ability to adapt to changing environmental circumstances. So now we have to show that we are truly an intelligent species, because right now we are not acting like we're intelligent. We are acting like a child throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
I want that, I want this,
Mm.
and grabbing it because we can. Right? That's how we are acting.
It's very true.
So we have to now become more of an adult species. Okay? That's gotten over the tantrum phase, the teenager phase of showing how strong we are and all this, and becoming more mature, an adult species that's addressing the problems it's facing. Because we cannot expect any other species to solve these problems. See, once you analyze these problems and you understand, as a doctor, a planetary health doctor, you understand what the planet is going through. Yeah, you realize that it's only us who can solve it. So you understand the importance of our species. I say we found our place in the ecosystems of the planet. Until now we thought this is just a plaything, right? We can do whatever we want. The planet will be fine. And we are just enjoying ourselves on the planet. Right? Those who can are enjoying themselves. There are others who are suffering.
Right.
Because of our enjoyment.
Right.
And now we realize that those who are enjoying ourselves, as we learn more and more, we realize how critical it is that we use our knowledge not for enjoyment, but for actually supporting the planet. Now, the biosphere integrity and novel entities has both been rated as high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of the planet. Now, what is this novel entities? We human beings have created new molecules, new substances that the earth had never seen before. With our chemical processes, with our industrial processes. And we have been pouring them out into the earth. For example, dioxin. Dioxins are some of the strongest carcinogens known to man. And dioxins are produced when we bleach hydrocarbons. So what are hydrocarbons? Anything in life is a hydrocarbon. Okay. So we take a tree and we turn that tree's bark into pulp in order to make paper.
Mm.
Now that pulp is a hydrocarbon. It's basically water and the tree all ground up. Now, usually a tree is brown. But we have a system on planet A that says that white is pure and brown is dirty.
So strange.
Yeah. Right? So we all prefer, the system prefers everything to be white.
At all costs.
At all costs. Including taking that brown pulp and bleaching it with chlorine in order to make it white.
Mm.
So in our paper mills, we are routinely bleaching wood pulp to turn it into white paper. And when you bleach a hydrocarbon, you put chlorine on a hydrocarbon, the result is dioxin. So our paper mills are all pouring dioxin into the environment, into the atmosphere. And these are some of the strongest carcinogens known to man. And this is why we situate paper mills far away from cities or in poor neighborhoods in cities. Because, we don't want the rich people breathing the dioxin. But guess what happens? That dioxin goes up into the atmosphere and then it comes down in the rain everywhere. Okay, and it's now in the plants because it's in the water. When it comes down in the rain, it's in the water. And the plants are absorbing the water and they're filtering the water. So they're storing the dioxin in their trunks, in their stalks. The trees have it in their trunks, the plants have it in their stalks. And then we feed the plants to the animals. And the animals store the dioxin in their fat tissues. They concentrate it and store it in their fat tissues. The statistic is that the amount of dioxin you get in 1 liter of milk is greater than the amount of dioxin that the cow could have breathed standing next to a paper plant in 1 year.
Wow.
Because that's how concentrated it becomes over time. And so we are marinating the earth in all this chemical pollution. So the amount of chemical pollution we put into the earth every year is 220 billion tons per year. A ton is the weight of an elephant. It's 1,000 kgs. It's 2,200 pounds. So 220 billion tons is 220 billion elephants worth of chemical pollution going out into the environment every year.
I mean, that's just no words like for something like that. It's just shocking.
And I look around and say, what am I buying that causes that? Of course, toilet paper, all these things count. Right? That's where it comes from. We have to now re-engineer everything. First of all, to say, hey, brown is okay. It doesn't have to be white. Okay?
Certainly.
Right? Accept things as they are, as much as possible. And then figure out how to minimize how much chemical you have to put into the environment for our needs. If you put chemicals out into the environment, make sure that it is already natural chemicals that the earth knows what to do with. Because these are all novel chemicals. And the earth is marinating in these novel chemicals. And animals are dying because of that. Life is dying because of that.
All right. So now let's go to the third, which is nitrogen and phosphorus loading. So what exactly does that mean?
It means, the earth has a process for cycling nutrients. It takes, it composts things. How does it compost things? Well, it takes something that's dying and then it retains part of that in the soil and the rest it sends up into the atmosphere. And there's a cycle for nitrogen that happens as a result of that. Nitrogen is fundamental building block for proteins, right? So the nitrogen fix. Basically, it provides the protein that's in the vegetables. It provides the protein that's in the plants. All plant foods have protein. Okay, so the protein is basically a nitrogen building block. Now, when a plant dies, that nitrogen goes back into the atmosphere. Okay. Now, what we have been doing is we are pouring nitrogen fertilizers on plants to make them grow fast. And that we are pouring so much that there is an excess runoff that happens. So all the excess from the soil runs off in the water into water bodies. And it over-fertilizes the bottom of rivers and the bottom of the ocean at the mouths of rivers. And it causes the plants to grow so fast that the oxygen in the water gets depleted. When the oxygen in the water gets depleted, the fish die. So it's like, anything in excess is poison. We all know that, So we are causing an excess of nitrogen to flow into the water and it's poisoning the water, literally, and the fish are dying because of that.
and where's the phosphorus then coming from?
It's also from the same fertilizers, like
From the
nitrogen
same.
and phosphorus, yeah. So they've estimated that the nitrogen cycle has been impacted far worse than the phosphorus cycle. But otherwise, both of them are done through the same mechanism of creating artificial fertilizers and growing the plants really fast.
And then that would majorly stem back to animal agriculture,
Correct,
right?
yeah. Because half of the crops that we grow are going to feed our animals. And the animals are doing a 39-to-1 reduction in the food that they get before it comes to our
Unbelievable.
plate. Yeah. So if we go vegan, we can immediately cut down on our nitrogen and phosphorus use by at least half. Right? And eventually, I think we need to convert all our agricultural processes into organic processes, with natural nitrogen fixing soil. So basically, go back to the way our ancestors used to do things, like, grow a bean, corn, and squash together, the three sisters
Right.
together.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to go and harvest that with machines, which is why we want to have monocultures. And when you do monocultures, you have to do this kind of stuff, right? Pouring fertilizers to make them grow. Whereas
Right.
if you grow the bean and the squash and the corn together, the three sisters together, the bean fixes nitrogen in the soil for the corn to grow, and the squash attracts insects to come and pollinate. Because the squash has these big flowers that attract insects. This is why the three sisters work very well together.
Sounds like a beautiful system to me.
It's a beautiful system, but it requires us to go and harvest by hand. Or you have to figure out how to get robots to go and harvest them, properly.
Yeah.
Which is also an interesting project to build on, if you want
Yeah.
to do that. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so now let's go on to the fourth. So we talked a little bit about it, but the fourth planetary boundary is climate change.
Correct, yeah. So it's the fourth worst transgression, and to me it's the fever that the Earth has. And it's actually causing the weather systems to change everywhere. And so we are discovering, things are changing around us. So it's the one thing that we all feel. This is why we know about it more. Biodiversity loss is happening somewhere else, right? Chemical pollution is happening all around us, but it's invisible to us. Of course, we see it in our health deteriorating because we're eating all these dioxin-laden foods, and we're getting cancer. But no one is telling us it's because of the dioxin we put into the environment. So this is why we don't know yet what is the root cause, right? So we don't understand the chemical pollution of the planet directly. Right. Nitrogen and phosphorus loading, we don't understand it directly. It's happening in the rivers, it's happening in the ocean. Climate change is happening around us. This is why we're able to see it. Now there are other people who say that this climate change is not caused by us. It's caused by natural forces. And I'm saying, when you're doing things that are impacting the environment, you can expect the environment to respond. So climate change has a distinct human fingerprint.
Some people, I hear they say that like the warming that we're currently dealing with now is a natural rhythm, and the planet has certain periods over a long period of time where it warms. What would be your response to that?
Well, there are theories. You have to come up with the underlying theories for why things happen. And those theories have to hold together with all the observational data. Now, the theory of anthropogenic climate change, which scientists have been working on, does hold well together. And it shows that there is an explanation for it based on greenhouse gases, and based on greenhouse gases being the catalytic converters of water vapor on the planet. And that's what causes the climate to change rapidly. Now, the people have come up with other theories, like the clouds causing there is a cloud that's causing this to happen, and it's the change in the cloud formation that's causing that to happen, and it's all from natural, the sun causing that to happen. Now those theories don't hold well together. There are lots of things that they cannot explain, and there's a whole science debate that's happening around it. Now to me that's secondary. I'm a systems engineer. I don't look at the science very deeply. I look at every aspect of the systems, that how do you solve them based on the current understanding of science. I do know that once we start implementing it, we may have to adapt based on new information that comes out. So we have to have that humility to know that you may not know everything to begin with. Right?
Yeah.
So climate change to me is a fever that the earth has, and we know, we are measuring the fever. We know that her temperature has gone up, and there is a plausible explanation that is due to human causes, and that explanation tells us that when we restore forests, the temperature will come down.
All right, which goes right into the next boundary. So the fifth planetary boundary would be land system change.
Correct, yeah. So we have changed the land systems by basically chopping down trees. We have cut down half the trees on the planet. There used to be 6 trillion trees. Now there are only 3 trillion trees. And we have basically chopped down forests and turned the forests into grazing land for our animals. Okay? And that's how we have caused this land system to change. Now, when we restore the ecosystems of the planet, we'll be bringing back the trees that we cut. And if the current climate change theory is correct, you will see the temperature come down as you reduce the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And the trees suck up that excess greenhouse gases. Okay? Now, if the temperature does not come down, then we have to have a different explanation for it. Then we can look for why is that the case. So this is why I say that whether you're arguing about climate change being a natural phenomenon or a human caused phenomenon, you need to support the transformation to a vegan world as quickly as possible. Okay, there should be no daylight between us on that. Okay? And once we implement that, we can go back to that other argument. Is it caused by human beings? Or is it caused by... And we'll see that. We will understand that right away.
Right. So going to the next one. So the sixth would be freshwater change.
Correct. Yeah. So we have dammed the rivers. We have interfered with the water cycle of the planet by cutting down forests. Forests are part of the water cycle of the planet. So the planet has a system for converting salt water into fresh water and to purify the water through plants and trees. So we have interfered in that system, and that change in the freshwater cycles of the planet is causing animals to die. And that's the sixth planetary boundary, that transgression. And again, to restore the freshwater cycles of the planet, if we go vegan and we bring back the forest that we cut, you will restore the freshwater cycles of the planet. So it repairs that as well. So that's going vegan addresses all of these transgressions. You know, that's why it is the first step that we need to take worldwide.
Right. So just going through the last three, which they relate to the first six, really. So the last three are ocean acidification, atmospheric aerosol loading, and stratospheric ozone depletion. Maybe you just want to go through those quickly each.
Right. Ocean acidification. The ocean is becoming more acidic as we increase the CO2 in the atmosphere. The CO2 dissolves in the ocean water and becomes carbonic acid, and that acid makes the ocean more and more acidic. When the ocean becomes more acidic, the shelled animals are not able to create their own shells, and therefore they start dying out. Right? And that impacts the bottom of the food chain. And so then the ocean starts dying. So the ocean acidification has now been rated as violating. It's not in the green zone anymore. It's now in the yellow zone. So it just crossed the boundary. The seventh boundary is ocean acidification. Right. Atmospheric aerosol loading is when we burn fossil fuels, we are causing sulfur dioxide and other aerosols to be put into the atmosphere. And that can come down as acid rain and kill life, right? And that is not yet in the yellow zone. It's still in the green zone. So we haven't yet crossed the boundary on that. But the more fossil fuels you burn, the more you're going to cause that to transgress. To address that, you have to first, change the system so that you don't need that much energy, right? And then we can address that automatically. So we have to get rid of growth as a master objective in our system. So I'll go through all of that in later chapters.
Wonderful. And then last one, stratospheric ozone depletion.
Yeah, stratospheric ozone depletion is caused mainly by chlorofluorocarbons being used in our systems. It's again a chemical pollution, right? Part of the chemical pollution. And that particular chemical goes up there into the stratosphere and then depletes the ozone. So it creates holes in the ozone layer. And ozone layer is shielding us from ultraviolet radiation that would kill us. When the ozone hole was discovered in the 80s, they found it was caused by chlorofluorocarbons, and DuPont was one of the main manufacturers of that chemical. And DuPont came up with an alternate chemical that does the same function for refrigeration, but that doesn't cause the ozone hole to be depleted. And so they substituted that chemical in new refrigerators. And it was a solution that allowed us to grow the economy. This is why it was implemented immediately. So the ozone hole is now closing over time. We are seeing it close, and therefore it's no longer in the yellow zone. It's in the green zone now.
All right. So when you go through, so there's the 9 planetary boundaries. Currently, we've transgressed 7 since 2009. But the interesting thing is these are all very intricately linked, and there's one tie back that you highlight so clearly in There Is a Planet B.
Right. Yeah, these are all self-reinforcing feedbacks in different systems. And when they started the analysis in 2009, there were 3 transgressions in 2009. It became 4 transgressions in 2015, 6 transgressions in 2023, and 7 transgressions in 2025. So I see this as the planetary fire growing, right? And so I see the planetary boundary transgressions picture itself as a fire around the planet. And and that you can actually put out the fire if you go vegan. If all of us go vegan, we can address all 7 of the planetary boundary transgressions simultaneously. Okay, and then as we change to a Planet B system, you will make sure that all planetary boundaries stay in the green zone forever. That is how you need to design a new system. That it allows us to monitor the planetary boundaries and stay in the green zone forever. It addresses our human health issues, it addresses our social justice issues. It's like, I see nature as the perfect system design. And nature has told us, if you're compassionate to all life, I'll let you live.
That's so simple.
Right. Yeah.
So if humanity decides to make the vegan change, how quickly will these 7 of the 9 planetary boundary transgressions be fixed, or at least move in the right direction?
Oh, they will all start moving in the right direction right away. But it's how fast will they do it, or have we done something that has gone beyond the point of no return? Okay, and so I'm most concerned about the first 2, biosphere integrity and novel entities, a chemical pollution. Will we be able to absorb all the chemical pollution with the new trees that we plant?
Right.
And then will we stop putting 30 elephants worth of chemical pollution per person per year? Will that come down? We have to stop that. We have to reduce that as quickly as possible, because the trees cannot absorb over and over. It's not like an infinite sink. It's like you're marinating something in, and it gets marinated so much that it cannot take any more. So those two things we won't know until we actually start trying if we have gone beyond the point of no return or not.
Those 9 are intricately connected, and they've kind of transgressed together, but in different speeds. They could all move back because each of them will be addressed very quickly as well.
It's
through
possible.
veganism.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, but this is the best shot we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one has come up and told me, here is another thing we could be doing that will address all 7. No, not a single other idea have I seen that does all 7.
The next chapter, I really hope people stay on for, because it is extremely fascinating. So chapter 7 is a critical look at the UN IPCC's emissions accounting. This one, honestly, it blew my mind. So I'm very excited to talk to you about it, Dr. Rao, and I hope people are excited for that chapter. But as we close podcast episode number 6, talking about the 9 planetary boundaries, is there anything that you'd like to share for a closing message?
I'm excited that we have a chance to solve these problems and become an essential part of this web of life.
Yeah,
So
that's so
thank you
beautiful.
for that.
And thank you, Dr. Rao. So I encourage everyone, read the book. There is a Planet B. Give it to friends. It's very eye-opening. So we'll, of course, continue on. But thank you, Dr. Rao, for all your efforts. And it's a pleasure to be with you on the Planet B podcast.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where empathy scales. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
Thank you all for being here. And if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Alison.
Sailesh, it's devastating to hear this segment, frankly, because I think you're the only one that I know of that is actually addressing all of these questions all at once. And you mentioned early on in the segment that there is a planetary health alliance. I think that's the one that you mentioned that has these planetary doctors.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the alliance? Are these scientists? Who are they beholden to? How objective are they? What's their mission? Are they being heard? Who are they being who is listening to them? That kind of that's my question.
Yeah, the Planetary Health Alliance is actually an alliance of lots of organizations. And then the Potsdam Institute for Climate Research, they are the ones who, and the Stockholm Resilience Center, they're the ones who assemble the scientists from around the world who are studying these planetary boundaries. Now, they're all doing a sincere job. Okay, as far as I can tell, they're all doing a sincere job. And I'm really grateful for all the work that they're doing. But they are not engineers. So engineering, is about looking at the science and figuring out the solution space for whatever objectives you have, and then optimizing within the solution space and things like that. That's the kind of work that we do as engineers.
Okay.
And I don't know of many other engineers looking at this. Okay. Because no one is really seriously tried to address the problems and try to solve them in that sense. Because if there was a serious effort, I would see a lot of engineers involved.
Yeah.
And so
Now,
far, there has not been a serious effort. It's been like a political effort as to how to finesse this, right,
yeah,
into a growth story,
yeah.
a
And
green
it was
growth story.
just,
Yeah,
it was this year that the Planetary Health Alliance decided to publish your paper. Isn't that who it was
right.
that decided to publish your paper?
Well, the
Uh-huh.
Planetary Health Alliance had a call for papers, and I submitted the abstract in July. And to my utter shock, they accepted the abstract, and the editors asked me to submit the full paper. So Jared and I finished the paper and submitted it in September, and it got reviewed, peer reviewed, and published in December. And so, which is a good sign. It says that the academics are now interested in hearing from engineers as to how to solve the problem. Okay. And so at least now, there is the information is out there as to how this can be done. And so that's the Planet B framework paper, systems engineering framework paper that we wrote. And where it starts by saying you have to go vegan as quickly as possible, right? Because it's self-evident to me, that aspect of it. And
Is,
yeah, to
is
me,
that,
sorry.
no. I'm interested to
No,
hear what you have to say.
no, to me, it is it's a good sign that academia is open to this now. Okay, and so hopefully soon, political leaders will also be open to it, because they have to solve the problem.
So I know you've been presenting around the world, doing presentations, but this particular episode focuses in, it's a deep dive into the 9 planetary boundaries. And I wondered if you'd ever done a deep dive on a platform like this one on the 9 planetary boundaries, or is this the beginning of something new here for you?
I kind of addressed it even during the Oxford Union debate, right? I showed how at that time there were only 6 violations. I said all 6 of them can be solved if the world goes vegan, right? So in that sense, that information is out there. It's been out there for a while, and I know that Jim Hicks has been writing about it. He has been saying that too. So it has to go out, and people in power need to understand that we all know there is a solution, that they are not working on it. Yeah. So it puts pressure on them to get serious. Like I got a feedback form today from the UN, even FCCC, about my COP30 experience. And I let them have it, So as long as you're serving meat, dairy, fish, and eggs at a UN climate change convention, that's the equivalent of handing out free cigarettes at a lung cancer convention, right? And I said, it just sends a message of a lack of seriousness of the UNFCCC process. And it's enough to drive anyone to despair as to why would they even come to this.
Yeah. Well, this particular podcast, Dr. Rao, gave me the experience of the impact of all of the 9 planetary boundaries, well, particularly the 7 that have been breached, the impact, the overall impact. For the first time, I experienced it, the impact. So I'm so glad you're doing this podcast, and we'll have to figure out how we share it more broadly. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
My pleasure. Ray?
Dr. Rao, the planetary boundaries is one of my favorite topics, especially in the context of donut economics because it combines them with the sustainable development goals, which are always used as an excuse for not addressing, we have to have development for the human race, yet at the same time we have to have constrained development for the planetary boundary. So having them both within your sight and scope. Are you going to be talking about the donut economics in that context?
We're going to be talking about the Sustainable Development Goals in a later chapter, and why you need to eliminate growth as the. I mean, to me, saying to solve a problem, to meet these objectives, the only way to do that is to grow the economy. Is like an engineer who has failed to, right? Even a failing engineer would tell you that's not the way to do it, not to solve a problem. Okay, so it again shows a lack of seriousness at actually addressing the Sustainable Development Goals. If you're just trying to grow the economy to solve the problem, yeah.
I had
So we're going to talk about that later. Yeah.
I had a question about aerosols, but Ellison prompted in my mind something about, this forgiving scientists for not being able to observe the things that you're observing because it's there for them to see.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are working really hard not to see what you're talking about because they've got so much momentum going in one direction that they'll double down on the excuses of why not to learn the truth and share it. And that's obviously bad scientific method. Polluted by the things the solutions that we've chosen. That's the momentum that I'm talking about. But it always bothers me when I see the fingerprints of scientists and scientific bodies doing soft sciences. They're experts in measuring things, but I think they make a lot of the decisions about things like veganism by saying people won't go vegan. Right. And my message to them is stay in your lane. You cannot claim your expertise in this particular field and then say, oh, I'm also a social scientist and I know this solution, veganism, will not work because I'm not vegan. I don't know any vegans. And therefore I'm an expert on the topic. You absolutely are not, right? They are not experts on that topic, but they've been making decisions based on this soft science for decades, back in the 80s. They knew the impact of methane and they dialed it down. They made political decisions on how to count, how to do this accounting. And now there's so much momentum into the wrong accounting. The wrong accounting that leads to solutions. It's accounting. The decay of particles in the atmosphere. Hey, we're scientists. Let's measure it. But when it comes time to decide what the solutions are, they go, ooh, okay, we've got to measure the entire impact of methane over 100 years, even though it only lasts for 20 years, because that will come to the conclusion that we want, right? And so that's the politics. As soon as you're dragging your heels on telling the truth, you're a politician. You've stopped being a scientist and you've started being a politician, and there's no two ways about it.
Look,
the thing I wanted to bring up was the aerosols. Maybe I'll let you respond to that before I get into that.
No, I want to respond to that a little bit. In defense of the scientists. Okay, it's not like I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but I can understand why they're stuck in that role. Okay, in the way, because think about it. When the meat industry sued Howard Lyman and Oprah Winfrey, and it cost them almost $1 million to defend themselves. Okay, and eventually Oprah Winfrey and Howard Lyman did win, but they're out $1 million. That's the system that we are in, right? You have to pay your lawyers. When Cowspiracy was being released, I was questioning. My wife and I were questioning: should we be part of this? Okay, now. We took the decision at that point that we need to be part of it. And you know the story. I mean, my wife said, don't put my name on it. You put your name on it. We did that, right? So and we became part of it. But we took a chance. At that point, we were seriously questioning it. Now, if I had made a decision not to put my name on it, I would have been like the scientists. Why? Because the scientists, they are being, any scientist that steps out of line and starts addressing this seriously loses their funding. Okay? The moneyed interests are clamping down on any open discussion of this issue because their goal is to maintain the system. So people, the scientists very soon understand that this is a red hot issue, don't touch it. If you touch it, you'll lose your funding. How can we blame them for not having courage? So if they have courage, they will lose all their funding. So what research are they going to do without any funding? So they're stuck in a system that's driving us down this path, dragging us. It's like the Pied Piper of Hamelin. You cannot move. You have to follow the Pied Piper into the river and drown yourself. Right? That's what they're doing.
And I could drag other heroes of science into this, like Charles Darwin. What is the gap between his understanding of the origin of species and actually revealing it to a public that knew that it was going to have problems with the prevailing religious understanding of the world? This isn't supported by the Bible, so he can't tell the truth. And of course, I have great empathy for having the inconvenient truth. That maybe that was the inconvenient truth of the time, and now we've got an inconvenient truth that, ironically, the person who's popularized that term is mired in it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And one of the inconvenient truths that you talk about is the aerosols. You talk about the planetary boundaries. Aerosols is one of them. We talk about how if we solve the agriculture problem, right-size our agriculture, get rid of the most damaging industries, then we solve all these planetary boundaries. But the one that agriculture doesn't have a huge impact on is aerosols.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're counting the number of planetary boundaries, there's an interesting reversal with aerosols because it's not a huge impact on aerosols. It is the best solution for climate change and all the planetary boundaries because this particular one is being ignored. This is the Faustian bargain that you've been talking about. And now the planetary boundaries have connected. They're all interconnected. So there's, in the same chart, we're talking about climate change and aerosols. And that hopefully will help you and people that understand what you're talking about. And James Hansen, like all these people that understand aerosols and recognize that there's a deal with the devil going on. That's what the Faustian bargain means. So we can't get the right solutions while we've got to deal with the devil making the decisions at the highest level of solutions.
Yeah. But, I'll address your question through an answer to Anik's question on YouTube. She says, does Dr. Rao also sense that the misinformation campaign against veganism running out of steam? That veganism is picking up steam? Yes. What I sensed in Brazil when I went to COP30, UN COP30, is that now they're open. They're wide open to hearing it. They're asking, how do we do this? Right? People are eating vegan food. They're demanding vegan food. So they know that they're stuck in a UN process that's force feeding them, non-vegan food, pretending that's not a major issue. It's become so self-evident. It's like, the doctors who are forced to smoke camels because camel is paying them. And you are dealing with lung cancer patients simultaneously. So they're stuck. And it is picking up steam. So I really think the time is ripe for it to burst wide open, and then the floodgates are done. The dam is burst. Okay. So I am looking forward to COP31. Unlike COP30, when I was reluctantly dragged over to Brazil to give talks, COP31, I'm itching to go. And I want to have a Planet B booth in COP31, where we showcase the solution of Planet B. Because all I saw at COP30 was just talking about problems, problems, problems. No one is talking about solutions. I said, no, this is not the way it should be. We have to talk about solutions and we have to make it systematic. Okay, there is a that's what systems engineers do. We systematize solutions to a problem, and I want to be able to showcase that and show people that there is a way out. And I'm sure that some nations will come forward and adopt it wholeheartedly. And
Well, the
that-
last thing I wanted to
yeah.
say about that soft science that the scientific community is perpetrating is that they're saying the world won't go vegan. People are greedy and selfish. They won't change. So what they've done is they've decided that industrialists will be lured into solutions to save the world because they're not greedy, because they're not serving their bottom line. That's your team, A team. The A team is the people who will build the regenerative, the green energy and infrastructure. That's where they've sunk all their bets into, and humanity can just watch. We look at our climate change communities in our governments, and they don't want us to do anything. They can't. They don't say anything about their voters. They don't put any issue to their voters.
Yeah, I always try to speak for myself. And, when people say others won't do it, I said, don't speak for others, just speak for yourself. Yeah, if you say,
They've robbed us of our agency.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
I was intrigued with you talking about the corn, beans, and squash. I was raised in that agriculture, so I feel very at home there. But what really caught my ear was you said robots will have to harvest. In other words, there's a whole new opportunity there to call forth a new ecology, a new care for the ecology.
Right.
But that happened before. I worked for International Harvester for 7 years, and the McCormick Harvester put an end to, or opened a door for monoculture, I guess would be the right way. Put an end to the family farming and the scattered plots and the mixed production, and made monoculture possible because of the invention. So there are opportunities here now to invent the new technology or the new approaches that open up the possibility of ecological recovery.
No, I threw the idea of robots out there. In reality, I think, right now, 1% of humanity is engaged in this in the industrial countries, in food.
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
let it be 30%, because now we have AI doing all the work for us, right? So let us go and get our hands in the soil and be connected with nature again. What's wrong with that, right? So at least temporarily, I said, let's do this ourselves. It's not a big deal. And,
I agree.
Yeah.
Truck farming, about 10 acres, 10 to 20
Right,
acres,
yeah.
farming vegetables is a very good occupation. It's a very good
Correct, yeah.
occupation. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to reimagine our whole entire society around being more connected with nature and and around health, right? So it's another opportunity. Why should robots do all the work and we sit around doing nothing? I mean, what is that for?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Toby?
Hey, Dr. Rao. Planetary boundaries are always great to talk about with people because it really puts things into context, I think. I've got a question first from Rebecca on YouTube. She's asking, has Johan Nockstrom got in touch with you, and do you know his stance on the case for Planet B or veganism in general?
Johan Rockström, I am in touch with his assistant. I've written to him, but he hasn't replied. But his assistant, I met him at COP30, and I've sent him a copy of my paper. I haven't heard back yet, but I will follow up. Okay, because I did write to all of them, and not just Johan Rockström, but Walter Willett and everybody who was on the Planetary Health Diet paper, asking them how did they come up with the calculation that only 50% reduction is enough. Because 50% reduction just says we're not going to change the system. And so a system that still has the same foundational flaws, how can that become sustainable? That was my question. And they didn't have an answer for that. So,
Well, they
yeah,
need one, don't they?
yeah, we don't. I'm not going to give up. Okay, so I'll keep at it until they agree that that's not a valid solution.
Because that was the Eat Lancet report, wasn't it?
Right, that's part of the Eat Lancet report.
Yeah, I was following that when it was happening, and I was really excited. Then it got pushed down with the excitement through what other people were saying, and
It's a good first step that they're acknowledging that this needs to be reduced by at least 50%. But I would like them to not try to leap this chasm in two bounds.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you leap it in two bounds, you're going to be falling all the way down.
Right. I had another question. I think it's I just finished watching How Not to Die from Dr. Michael Greger. I've already heard of loads of his stuff before, so nothing was really new. But it's just something that, for smoking, basically, there needed to be like 700 scientific papers to be published for anything to change. And there's way more than that for like whole food plant-based nutrition today. And still nothing really has been done about it. And then if you're going to go on to with, like climate change and how we need to go vegan for that, how many papers are actually made for that, like to change the narrative? Or is that,
Well, the pressure cooker is building up.
Mm.
And they're in it, so it's the pressure is building up inside. So they're in it, and they're trying to put a lid on it. So I call it like bottling up a volcano, and sitting on the bottle cap with your feet dangling on the side. You know exactly you're going to go into orbit if when that happens. So there is no other way. I see there is no other way to solve this problem.
I think it's interesting talking about going back to a couple episodes ago. I think Ray brought it up about the population and how that's you see CO2 levels going up perfectly with the human population rising, but then you just talked about in this episode about lifestyle issues, and that's literally why you see that rise in CO2 levels and human population. It's because of our lifestyle and the way that we're actually living. If we have all these like machinery and all these tools to be able to get whatever we like and act like children, we're going to create a massive footprint, aren't we? So it's just the fact that we need to change our lifestyle and like grow up.
Right.
I think that's the main thing. Is just it's a lifestyle issue.
Correct.
With everything.
See, you also look at the same curves going up and look at the population of farmed animals going up, you'll see the same. And this is why I say that's one thing you can control, right? You can put a lid on that, and that immediately will help bring that exponential growth down. But growth as a master objective is the main issue, and that's why we have to address it from a foundational perspective. Okay. Anik has more questions in the chat. Are people seeing through the lies? Can we get back to the optimism we had before COVID? And yeah, it's like anything in this system. They first they don't address the root cause. They try to focus on the symptoms, right? So they didn't address the root cause for why people were going vegan. They focused on the symptom of people going vegan, and they're trying to squash that. And that is not the right way to solve problems on a planetary scale. Okay? And so this is why it is going to absolutely fail when they do something like that. And they're going to find that out soon. So what do we do when our loved ones are giving up? Love them more. Love them more and become the best example that you can be. This is why this is a spiritual and cultural transformation. And so, getting angry with them or calling them names and all doesn't work. Yeah, it's like you're an ambassador of compassion. That's what we are trying to be, ambassador of compassion. And we cannot be ambassadors of compassion by using 4-letter words and things like that. It's not going to work. Anger doesn't work. Ray, you had a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a dance, right? We have to try to find a way that this problem of the Anthropocene is the hubris and vanity of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're shameless. So you'd think that the solution would be to shame people, but we have a cultural shield against that. We've agreed collectively that we shouldn't just go around shaming each other. This is like a very base, a very vulgar kind of way to change the world. And we see it in our YouTube comments and social media where you just entrench yourself and try to come up with the best comebacks or the best one-liners. And I'm guilty of it myself. I have, in a few of the questions, challenged the integrity of scientists. And I think that the dance is that we have to try to find the language to have people discover their own humility. Humility is so much a part of it, and arrogance is something that must be overcome. And how do you do that when everybody is armored in their own arrogance? And it's the same thing with vegan outreach. I think that's a great model to even just to on that ethical level challenge people's worldview without them being turned off by it. And we know it's such a sensitive topic that you just walk into a room with a vegan T-shirt, and people are already sharpening their knives because they're hurt, because they're recognizing consciously or unconsciously. And I think so much more unconsciously than consciously, a vegan has challenged their worldview, and they don't want to change. Nobody's looking for a new upgrade.
They don't. No one likes to change. Okay, no one says I want to change everything that I'm doing right away. Right? It happens over time, and discomfort is a source of change. So those who are trying to change the world, you're going to cause discomfort. Otherwise, you're not successful.
And the maintainers of the status quo use the fear, blame other people. That's where the blame comes in.
Correct, but you don't have to create that discomfort. You don't have to be disagreeable, right? So you can, by putting on a T-shirt and you walk in, you're causing discomfort, but you have a right to express yourself, and you have to basically do that with a big smile on your face and glow. So that they're disarmed by it. And
I'd like to say that I'm doing it not for myself. Veganism isn't for me. It's for someone beyond me. It's for this movement that's bigger than myself. And that's offensive to a lot of people because they're They've been told the meaning of life is have the most stuff, have the most security, and accumulate and flow the economy, be a consumer. And then when I'm offering them an alternative, and they're like, no, "You're ruining my day."
But everyone has their
With a
own
t-shirt.
path. Yeah, everyone has their own path. You don't know where they are in the journey. Like we were in the journey too, right? So at some point I didn't know. And something happened to me and I suddenly saw what was going on, right? So I expect everyone is on the same path, at different stages.
And it can happen fast. I just had a flashback of somebody like a month after I became vegan. I was an activist. In fact, I was an activist before I was vegan. And they said to me, "You became an activist very fast." And I think that they were suspicious. I was like an agent provocateur or something. That I was like, you became a vegan, an activist very fast. But that's a great, way to recognize that all the people that you think are not activists, that they resist it mightily.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a change of mind. It can happen in an instant. And that's so important for the movement. There's so many people that will be vegan and just vegan. They're part of the movement, but being an open vegan and being able to talk about it is such an important step in this process. And I hope people are able to find that.
Thank you. Toby?
Just wanted to ask, I already kind of know the answer, but maybe it's interesting to hear different ways and other people to maybe think about it if they're not already. But why have you named climate healers as climate healers when there's obviously 3 more transgressions are basically, more important to be focusing on, like the biosphere and novel entities, the biogeochemical flows and all of these. Is it just because that's the other thing that's being talked about? We need to go to where the people are to say climate change, this is like what you need to get right here because it's all we're talking about? Or why aren't we talking about the biosphere instead of climate change?
Well, I'm a systems engineer, so I look at everything. I don't look at just one little aspect of it and say, how do I solve the problem? And when you look at everything, it screams at you to go vegan as quickly as possible. Okay, so, and climate change is also telling me to go vegan as quickly as possible. Okay, so it's that totality of this problem statement and veganism being a solution to all of them. That's what we are trying to present here at Climate Healers to people and saying, look, it's not just climate change. It can solve all of our issues, but we have to address it as a system.
Why would we? We're just talking about being called climate healers because that's the only thing people are talking about.
Why is it called Climate Healers? Good question. I went looking for planet healers when I started this. And it was already taken. And the person who had taken that wanted thousands of dollars for me to get that. And I said, no, I'm not paying that. So I picked Climate Healers. That's how it happened.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Right. And climate was the main conversation anyway for everybody. And so that's why it made sense. All right. Thank you all. And,
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank
We'll
you.
do this again in the evening.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to the forest strip bare. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite, sharing love in the meta zone, lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the